listen. It's good.
Plug in your headphones and crank that volume up to a safe and responsible level. We want it loud, but not too loud because your precious eardrums, we don't want to harm you. And strap in for episode 4,723. Feels like it.
Damn, that's kind of a burn. It doesn't feel. I don't think it feels like it.
No, I didn't mean like that. I just meant like when I look at the episode number, one set. Hey man, I'm up to.
Can you imagine if I really started crying live on the show? That would be so fucking awkward.
But it would be awesome. That's what gets the clicks, man. Drama. Oh, let's pretend we have a feud, or like we have like podcaster beef, and we're like, you didn't do that. You promised you would do that thing.
We have to think of something to fight about because I don't know what it would be, but I'll try to think of something.
I'm gonna edit all this out, okay, and then we'll pretend like we're fighting next week.
Oh God,
cool?
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
It's episode 176, which sounds it really is a lot, and I freaking love doing this show because I like hanging out with you, and I love the community that we've built. And let me tell you, it's so nice to not be on video.
Yeah,
because it's exhausting to do a video podcast.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny. I don't think I realized maybe until maybe this job actually, that when you get to the point where you're having like 7, 8, 9, 10 video meetings a day, it is exhausting to be seen and to have to pay that much attention to people that many times a day. It's not that there's anything wrong with the people, but like, I kid you not, I finish and I just breathe a sigh of relief. Like, gentle listeners, Matt and I were supposed to record last night, and I messaged him and I was like, I had 11 meetings yesterday. I was like, I am beyond depleted. I have nothing to give. And he's like, cool, let's do it tomorrow. But like, I mean, I just can't, you know what I mean? I'm useless at that point.
Would you like to know the psychological and evolutionary reason why being on Zoom for 8 hours a day makes you crumple into a pile of dust? Would you like to know the reason?
I would actually.
I do not remember who told me this, but it was an author or some person. So that's great sourcing. Like, trust me, a guy told me. But anyway, it was on another show that I produced years ago. And I don't know if they were a scientist, but they were quoting scientific research. And they were saying that when you are in frame on a webcam, your brain and your visual perception is like, this person is very close to me. Like, this person is in my face, and I'm sitting at my screen, and this person is like psychologically feels like they are right in your face. And there's only 2 reasons why another human being would be like right up in your face, and that is to have sex or fight you. So we are in when we are on Zoom meetings all day long, especially during the pandemic, or people who work remotely like us, you are in a constant fight or flight or like intimacy zone with all of your coworkers. And it's all subconscious, of course, but that is what makes you be like, oh my God, enough of this shit. I'm tired. I love these people, but I do not want to look or talk to anyone for the rest of the week, you know? My wife has a job like yours where she's constantly in meetings. I have the opposite problem where I am in no meetings and I do not speak to anyone, verbally,
which has its own set of
on
problems.
A podcast. And I'm just like, so at the end of the day, I'm like, so let's talk about stuff. And my wife is like, nope, no, I'm done.
She can't.
Vampire Survivor time.
Right. She can't. Yeah. No, I totally get it. I totally get that. And my favorite thing to do, honestly, after I've had a day like that, it depends. Like, if the day has been so intense that I can't function, I'll just go lay on my sofa and let a cat lay on me. But if I have any brain bandwidth, even like I'm at 2% battery, I like to just play Stardew because it's super chill for me. And so that's what I normally do, like to chill. But
I've had multiple nights this week and last week where I've booted up a game that requires brain power, like Baldur's Gate or Echoes of Wisdom, and I booted up for like 4 minutes, and I'm like, oh no, I can't. It's too much thinking. I can't read text and solve puzzles, and I just find something dumb to play or whatever, and just be like, I can't do it tonight. Not tonight.
Yep. Yeah. It honestly is one of the reasons that I this time around I started a completely new Stardew save to just do it all over again.
Nice.
Because I wanted that feeling, and this was actually before Silent Hill came out, but I was like, I want that feeling of being able to enjoy a game without having to use my brain so much. And so that was absolutely why I did it. But yeah, I get that. Like, there are just some things that your brain is like, nah, I don't have it.
And there's something also nice about certain games that are maybe they're more action oriented, or they're more I don't know, they're less puzzly, less text oriented, and they're more action. And then if there is a story, if it's fully voice acted, then it's like, okay, fight, and then cutscene. But you can kind of just like relax and go through the motions and almost watch it like a movie rather than reading dialogue or reading information in menus and stuff. That ain't happening at 9:30 p.m. on a tough one.
No, cannot do it. And if you can do it, oh my God, enjoy it while you can, because it won't stay forever.
Yeah.
That's it.
Meanwhile, we're here. I should say, how are you? What's popping?
Well, I am moving to a new house in 5 days.
Yes.
So that's big because I have a lot of house to pack still.
Are you in an empty cube? Are you in a void right now, or do you still have furniture and packing to do?
Oh no, I've got a ton to do because I worked all week as well. So I still, I've packed a lot of books, but I still have our kitchen is always our biggest thing because my husband's a chef. So we have about 3 times the amount of kitchen stuff that the average person has. So that's always, to me, that's always the biggest thing is getting that packed and moved. But we've done it before, and I guess I'm kind of the mindset of we've done it before, we'll do it again.
Sure.
So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm not too stressed. I'm really excited because I think I said this last week, but it is my first ever house.
Yeah.
I've never owned a house. So it's exciting to be like, you're going to own a house. If you want to change something, you just get up and change it. Like, I think for a while, I'm going to be like, it's going to take me a minute to go, I can just paint that. You know what I mean? Because it's hard to grasp, where you're like, wait, I can do that? I can just go do that? I think it's going to be really fun. So I'm excited because I feel like it's just going to a whole new part of life, and I'm really hyped about that.
Don't let me down. Just as this is your reminder, before you put all the heavy furniture in, before you paint, before you make it perfect, run those cables, get that Ethernet all in all the rooms where the gaming and the PCs and the stuff's going to be, because you want to lock in that fast streaming goodness.
Yes. No, we definitely do. That's a very good reminder. Thank you for mentioning it. I am going to do that. In fact, we are lucky because we don't move till Wednesday, but we have our keys already. So
yeah, so you can get in there and plan.
Yep, we have some prep shit to do. So I'll definitely be working on that. But yes, I'm very, very excited. So that's what's going on with me. Plus, I am playing the remake of one of my favorite games ever made. And so I feel like even if I wasn't getting ready to move, that would be a big deal, a big thing to talk about, an experience to have that not everyone gets to have. So I will talk about that.
Last week we said, hey, should you get it now or should you wait? And the results did not come in time because you were like, fuck it, I'm getting it.
I did. I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, why am I hemming and hawing around this? Plus, I'd love to be like, yeah, for the next 5 days, I'm just going to pack nonstop and do nothing else. But I can't. I have to take breaks.
You gotta, I have to chill.
Eat. I have to have times where I'm like, I need to take a breath and do something else. So, yeah. yeah, so we'll get to that when we get to that part of the show.
Can I just say that I love your analogy here of like, well, I can't pack up all my food because I got to eat. And I can't pack up all my video games because I got to play video games. And I'm like, yeah, preach.
I mean, honestly, I think I'd be more or less okay with packing up my games other than just like the Steam Deck or something in other circumstances. But this is just not other circumstances.
No, this is a moment for this very special game. So we're going to get to that later in the show. But first, Nintendo, it's a Japanese company, and they've made some games.
Have you heard of them? I don't know. You might not have heard of them.
Snoopy Brothers, Stupor Brothers. I don't know. It's some games. What the kids like it. I don't know. They have released. They have announced their new video game console, and it is round and red and wakes you up in the morning.
Yes, and it is also not a video game console.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the. Oh, I'm sorry. It's saying here that it's an alarm clock? Question mark. ...
Yes. So it's an alarm clock called Alarmo, which I think is extremely ironic for multiple reasons. One, because we're like, Switch 2, okay? And they're like, lol, how about alarm clock? And you're like, well, I mean, do I have a choice? So, because you don't.
Do I have a choice?
Because you don't have a choice, but...
Nintendo, you don't have a choice.
Nintendo, they don't. Yeah, they're like, let's give people this. I'm like, that's weird. But so if you read about it, it's kind of interesting because so I watched the video, right, and I had the most interesting reaction. One part of me was like, this is actually really clever and smart and fun.
Yep.
And another part of me was like, I would fucking stab this to death on day one because it makes so many sounds that are too much for me. Like I'm one of those people, some people, they have to have the really loud alarm.
Sure.
I'm the opposite. I need like my alarm sounds like a little flourish of piano. Like it is so chill, but I'm a light sleeper. So I don't really, I don't really need to have like anything loud, and I in fact don't like that. So I think I
assume there's a volume control question mark?
It's not just the volume, it's the amount of things. I'm very sensitive to the conflicting voices. Like
you should explain what is going on with this product that does that. I mean, for anyone who hasn't seen the video.
Yeah. Okay. So for anyone who hasn't seen the video, so you get to do these fun little themes with it. It's a cute. It looks like an alarm clock. It's red, has a red outside and a digital. A digital face. Yep. And you can have themed Nintendo characters with it. So basically, the themes out of the gate were, I think, Link, Splatoon. Was there a Kirby one? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, good question. That's a shame if there is not. I don't
think there was a Kirby. Maybe not. But there were 4 to launch, 4 themes to launch. And what it does is it uses the motion sensor technology that I assume was what originated with the Nintendo Wii. But you put it next to your bed.
Or just like generic motion sensor. Like I don't know that this is like connected to any proprietary. Same. Like because like if you walk past if you have a light on your garage and you walk outside at night, it's like, hey, it's dark and something walked by. Boom, turn on the light. So I'm gonna assume it's just basic ass motion detection, but
maybe it is.
There's more to it. I don't know.
I definitely can't say, but so you do have to. It is a plug-in alarm clock. It is. What happens is, depending on the theme you've chosen, because there are the 4 themes to start with.
Just to add, the themes are Super Mario Odyssey. I'm on the official website. Super Mario Odyssey, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, as you said, Splatoon, as you said, Pikmin 4.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And everyone's favorite music and soundtrack, Ring Fit Adventure, which we own and we love. and
But-
we got a lot of value and use out of, especially during the pandemic. But like,
Same.
but
Yeah.
like, okay, no Kirby, no Metroid.
Right.
Maybe we'll get those later.
It's coming.
Anywho.
It's coming because
They
they said
better.
that they're going to add more stuff. So, but basically the way it works is that, let's say you have Mario on it, right? That's your chosen theme. So, the character hangs out and waits on the screen. And then when the alarm begins, you'll start to hear sounds. And then like you'll see some from the scene you picked, the theme you picked, you'll see something on the screen. So in order to make the clock quieter, you have to wave your hand around or move your body and get out of bed. The example was really funny because it says, depending on the title you've chosen, you might also hear coins or other familiar game sounds. But the way that it went off with the coins in the video is so funny.
Totally agree.
The music, starts and you're like, okay, I get it. All right, Mario's sleeping. And then you see him get up. And then you see the person. Right. Like, it's like, it was already annoying. And then it starts with the coins. And I was like, no, I can't. No.
I had the same thought.
So, but what's kind of cool is you don't touch it to turn it off. So like when you get out of bed, the motion sensor is like, oh, you got up, right? And but if you stay in bed, which I think is really funny, the alarm gets more intense and you'll get, according to Nintendo, a visit from someone more persuasive. So if Odyssey is your theme, Bowser will show up if you stay in bed too long.
Great.
Now, I think oh, wait. And my favorite part, when you actually get out of bed, the alarm stops and you get like victory fanfare, which I think is funny.
And I'm going to just correct myself here for a moment because like this is motion sensing technology, but then also fairly sophisticated. Like it knows when you're standing, it knows when you're tossing and turning, it knows the difference between I'm awake and I'm asleep. Like, but it's not a camera. And I'm reading on the website about that as well. So that is somewhat impressive.
Yeah,
I don't know what
it is until you realize there is fine print. Until you look at the fine print and you realize that Nintendo Alarmo. Well, first of all, let me go back real quick before I say this. Alarmo sold out on the first day at the
of course it does.
at the New York store.
Yep.
Well, see, it wasn't of course to me because even though it's cool, I'm like, it's still a clock and it's still $100.
It's $100.
Yeah, what's going to happen? What happened is people bought them all. So it's like, okay, Nintendo's like, shit, we have a success. Cool, right? But then reports start to come out, which I think are fucking hilarious, that are like, well, so the Alarmo doesn't understand when there's two people in bed. Like if one person's in bed and you get up,
right,
the other person,
yes, because it's just sensing motion. Exactly, right.
Exactly. So that could mess things up, or it could not work as promised. So basically, Nintendo made a clock for single people, which
you have to be an incel to use this clock. That's the rules.
When I saw it, my first thought was this is truly for kids.
Yeah,
but I think some adults would want it because it's just fun. But then I was like,
also,
but if you're an adult in a relationship, it's not fun. Also, if my husband had this clock, I would fucking wring his neck.
Yeah.
Because the idea of this going off and like him not getting out of bed right away, oh my God, like I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So that's just me.
The other rule that this product violates, the unspoken, unwritten rule that everyone knows, okay, and this was I had the exact same reaction as you, and then I had this additional thought, which is, if you've ever owned an alarm clock or a speaker or a system where it's like, oh yeah, my favorite motivational song, I'm going to wake up to Eye of the Tiger and I'm going to get out of bed. And so you set that as your alarm and 6:24 rolls around and then it's like, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get. And then after that happens 10 times, you're like, I fucking hate this song. Fuck Eye of the Tiger. Survivor, that's the worst. I hate hearing this thing because it reminds me that I have to get out of bed and go to my stupid job. And I, as a lover of Nintendo music and The Legend of Zelda and all these beautiful, iconic sounds and musical, songs, whatever. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. As a lover of this content, I don't want to hate it every time I wake up in the morning.
You definitely don't. But I feel like if it wasn't, and this is just my take, right? But if it wasn't such a song and dance, because they made it very elaborate what happens, like it's not, okay, let's just say you have Odyssey enabled, the clock goes off, Mario starts dancing around, you're like, oh shit, I gotta get up. You get up, and then Mario cheers. Okay, cool. But like all kinds of shit happens. Like it's not just that. It's like, you're like, oh, it's time to get up. My clock is going off. And then like there's something playing on the screen, and then like those coin noises start. And I'm like, no, I don't want, like, that's just too much happening. So for me, if it was a little simpler, it would have been better. I will say this though, they did tease that they were gonna like have all these other free, like downloadable scenes themed on the games, and they teased Animal Crossing, and I was like, okay, maybe I could go for it with an Animal Crossing.
There's such a beautiful catalog of music, in the KK Slider library.
Oh yeah, that'd be super cool. But see, a lot of people don't want to wake up chill; they want to wake up loud, and so and I don't think I'm super unique in that, but I think that it has to be a certain, I can't vibe with something being really loud is all.
If you had the entire sort of 67 track KK Slider, island music on there, and it rotates to a different song every day.
Right.
Okay. I could be interested in that.
Okay.
Hey, look, if listeners have not seen the video or they don't know what we're talking about, I think, why don't we just play like the audio of what you might hear when you wake up from this alarm clock. So here's a little clip. I don't see the problem here. That's delightful.
Sounds great. I'm up.
Thank you to Twitter user Jesse Lee. Colette found that meme, and she's like, "You gotta look at this." And I was like, "What is this?" And then we died. We died laughing.
It's so funny.
But
oh God,
that's like a stupid parody making fun of the real issue here, which is like, yeah, it's a little crazy. It's a little chaotic. And my gut also really went into like privacy mode, because like, I don't know. I don't want sensors tracking me, like watching me as I sleep or wake up or do other things in the bedroom, and I don't think so I'm looking at the fine print on the website. There are many asterisks next to a lot of the feature things. It's like blah, blah, blah with like 40 asterisks. So you scroll down. Alarm. Okay. So one of them is Alarmo does not communicate any information to Nintendo. Nintendo account and internet access required for online features. So maybe you are downloading the new packs and sounds, like you said, cool. But theoretically, it is not sending your movements or your habits or your schedules to a server. Then below that, it says motion sensing features only function when Alarmo is not in button mode. I don't know what that means. Software
big
update
button
required.
At the top.
Okay, right.
I think that has to do with enabling it though, because you don't touch it to turn it off.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. So, again, motion sensors are not cameras. Theoretically, there is no microphone in the device. So, from a privacy standpoint, hopefully it's not too bad. And Nintendo's business model is, would I put the Facebook alarm clock in the Meta alarm clock in my bedroom?
God.
Fuck no.
No.
So, but, to your point, it's like, yeah, this looks really fun for kids and it would function well for kids. Like, my kids definitely need help getting up in the morning, getting off to school. So would a fun alarm clock be part of that routine? Yeah, that's cool. But $100 for I don't know, the value prop feels weird. But again, people, it's sold out.
But it's sold out.
People love it because
what
it's
that
just
means.
fun and collectible and 20 years from now, everyone's going to be like, remember this alarm clock? I still have it in the box. Whatever the fuck.
Yeah, no, definitely. I totally get that. And I have to say that despite my like making fun, that I still do think it's cool. And
it's very cool.
I like that they innovated and came up with something unexpected. I just think the timing is funny because of the fact that we've waited, and have been really waiting with bated breath for a Switch 2 to be announced. So I am still amused by that. But that said, I think it's going to be fun. And I feel like I could be re-tempted once the Animal Crossing stuff comes out. It just depends on how it sounds.
Yeah, let's see what other packs come along. Let's see if features get added, and let's see, this is silly wishful thinking, but maybe it's $80 for the holidays or something, and that maybe that's a nice gift for someone who loves Nintendo. I don't know.
Yeah, I suspect a lot of the people who bought it are already thinking about Christmas for their kids.
Yeah, for sure. You shared a pretty cool Kickstarter, I guess we should call it, for an upcoming game. And I was very excited to see it and get your take on it.
Yeah, so the game is called Cronella's Mansion, and it as you said, on Kickstarter. And it caught my attention because it was calling itself the spiritual successor to Maniac Mansion, which is one of my favorite NES games of all time. And so I was like, wait, what? Now, to clarify, it is not made by anybody who made Maniac Mansion. This is absolutely an homage in every way. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting about it to me, there's a couple things that are interesting to me. Number one, if you look at playing it, it literally looks like the exact same game.
See, when you sent it, my expectation was, it's like a point and click, but it's modern and it looks different. It looks different, but it's creepy like Maniac Mansion. And then then I finally looked at the video, and it's like, if I didn't know better, I would think I was looking at Maniac Mansion footage. It looks so good and close to that original.
Yeah,
concept.
They absolutely wanted to emulate that exact vibe. I think it's also interesting because the description says compatible with NES, Super NES, Game Boy Advance, Switch, and PC.
Huh. Oh, are they going to make a cartridge?
Yes.
Huh. Or a ROM?
Yes. No, it's a cartridge. So if you look at the Kickstarter page, which we can link in the show notes, you'll see that there is a package. Like, so for instance, if you buy it for the NES, it comes in the NES box. It's in that gray shell. Like, they really went to all the trouble to be like, it looks just like this. And then the GBA Advance one is the same exact thing. It's like you can literally use it with those systems.
Which means they're programming the game at the bit level and with the syntax of those original systems. Like, that would be my question if we could ask the developer, or maybe look at an FAQ of like, if this game is running on this hardware, then you're not using Unity or Unreal or anything. Like, you have somehow compiled it to run on these. Like, that's impressive from a technical level on its own.
It is. Yeah. It says on the Kickstarter, all versions have been created from scratch, putting a lot of dedication and care into the code, mechanics, graphics, and music. I can only imagine this person is like paying out of pocket big time to do this, because
is it a single person, or is it it's like a small studio? Who is this?
It's just a person. I think it's just a person, and they're from Spain. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just a guy or gal or non-binary pal, like just doing this. But I think it's super, super cool that they would care this much and put that level. I mean, if it was just like, hey, it's an indie game, it would be cool. But I feel like the effort to package it and, make it playable on those systems is really cool. So this is something I'll surely keep an eye on. I believe it looks like, according to what I'm seeing here, that the Kickstarter will begin in February 2025.
Right. It's not live yet. I was like looking, I'm like, where do I like pledge or like look at how much money it's raised? But no, it's actually confusing. I have not spent a ton of time on Kickstarter recently, but the headline says launching soon. And I assumed that meant the game is launching soon, but in fact, it's the Kickstarter campaign will launch soon, which is like, okay, cool.
exactly that. So there's some notes here that say that it's been a long development of more than 4 years. And I was like, well, if you're making it for multiple consoles and also you're just a guy or a gal or a non-binary pal, then I mean, yeah, it would take you a really, really long time. So I'm fascinated. I'm sure we're going to hear more about it. I hope it gets supported. I plan to support it. I haven't kickstarted anything in a while, but it's just a little too unusual and cool, I think, to like not, guys, got to do it.
Man, again, that whatever you spit out at the end of the day runs on Steam and also runs on the NES, and it's the same game. Like, again, I just think that's impressive from a technological point of view. Many games look retro, but they are running on modern engines. And this is like, nope, this is the real deal. This is really 8-bit in a real way. I
also love, and I just want to say this before we move on, about Maniac Mansion was one of my favorite games because it was spooky and weird. Mm-hmm. And like NES era in general was weird. I mean, like for fuck's sake, it's the era that spawned like Princess Tomato and the Salad Kingdom. Like it's the strangest era, but,
which we've covered extensively on this. Program.
Yes, of course. But like, it's just a wacky game. I guess it would be a B-movie game if you had to describe it to somebody. Like, what's it like? Well, it's like a B-movie.
That's a good way. I don't know enough about it because I probably rented it from Blockbuster and was like, "What the fuck is this?" And then, probably went back and got ActRaiser or some other shit.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's absolutely a classic. I know for me, it was one of my first experiences with point and click adventures. Absolutely loved it. It was also my first experience with a Lucasfilm game, which of course I went on to become very obsessed with. But it's like, it literally is like the story of like a teen kid who tries to rescue his girlfriend from a mad scientist. And then you find out later in the game that the mad scientist's brain has been enslaved by a sentient meteor.
Yes. A tale as old as time.
I mean, fucking Ron Gilbert. Like, that's it right there. So, it is fun. Like, if you ever just like, I just want to watch something and I don't want to like, play it. Like,
just watch a playthrough of it.
Watch a playthrough, or it's on Steam for like $6. Like,
totally.
It's there. Yep. But it is just so weird, and I loved how weird it was.
That makes me want to watch a playthrough, but with commentary, like with someone who is like, and then this, and this is weird, and like, oh, I don't know if that's a first time playthrough or someone who is like seasoned who like would explain things. Tell me if this analogy makes any sense. Like, it always felt like it was a Rocky Horror Picture Show, the video game type game to me, but I don't know if that's right. Just in my young mind, I felt like there were corollaries there.
I can see why you would think that. There are some kind of small comparisons for sure because of the house and stuff. Right. And it's like, you end up going to this house and there's weird people there. But beyond that, I think it kind of starts to go in a different direction.
Okay.
But yeah, I see where you would get that reference for sure.
Again, having very, very little context for either of those pieces of media at the time. In my brain, I was just like, this is going to a weird house with creepy, weird people. That's like a thing. That's like a genre. And I was like, okay, no
it's
thanks.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
The Rocky Horror genre. Yeah. But clearly there's more to it than that. So I'd be curious if you end up backing, and maybe if you're getting like updates about it once you're a backer, that would be cool to keep an eye on for the show too.
I will share. I will share for sure.
Meanwhile, this popped up. I think it was in one of the game newsletters. I think it was, what's the one? Simon. What is it?
Simon
from
one?
Correct, from Game Discover Co., which is a great newsletter, and
it is.
It just really digs into like very in the weeds industry stuff, which I sometimes is interesting and sometimes is like, okay, it's so much analysis that I don't necessarily have the bandwidth to read it all. But this one was the headline was Roblox gets Hindenburged. Should we take it seriously? And he is covering this research that was done by some would call like an activist investment firm or hedge fund. I don't know exactly what this entity is, but I will provide a little more context in a moment. That just released this absolutely scathing, damning report about Roblox, which, again, as we've said here, is the social platform, the metaverse, the video game that is so fucking big and mind-bogglingly, popular among children that nobody covers, nobody talks about, and that we all go along on our merry way talking about video games when like bajillions and bajillions of kids are in this ecosystem. And so I found this really fascinating, at the risk of getting into like corporate stock, user numbers and whatever. But I was reading Simon's coverage, and then I actually clicked through to the report. The name of the firm is called Hindenburg Research, and which is like, I guess the play there is like they are some sort of entity that like basically does hit pieces on publicly traded companies to then devalue their stock or expose them for bad practices or inflating their revenue or their user numbers. So this is literally, it's not even like an article. It's literally bullet points is the whole report. So if you don't mind, and I know you haven't looked too closely at this, I do want to like read some of the most salient bullet points here, because they fucking knocked me out of my chair when I was reading them the other day.
Yeah, please. And just to clarify to the listeners, Matt had presented this a few days ago in the Discord, and I saw it, and I saw some of the discussion around it, but I didn't read it like deeply. So this is all going to be like new to me as he reads it. And
nor had I until yesterday afternoon. So here is some of the verbatim reporting from Hindenburg Research, and I will provide additional context about what this firm is once we're done reading here. So Roblox is a $27 billion with a B online gaming platform headquartered in California. The company was incorporated in 2004, led by the CEO. Just to clarify, $27 billion must be their valuation, not their revenue, because
that's correct.
Yep. You know this. You've been in the business reporting world for some time.
Yep.
The company has reported net losses every quarter since becoming a public company. So they are not profitable, which was interesting to me. So they are valued at $27 billion, which is completely contingent on their user numbers and engagement and potential for profit, yet they are currently not profitable. They go on to
have never been
profitable, with the last 12 months losses being 1.07 billion. So they are losing $1 billion a year basically. Yet they are one of the most valuable tech companies around. That's not none of this is shocking. That's par for the course for tech companies. So it goes on to say like since Roblox isn't profitable, its stock price is reliant on the growth, on its growth metrics. So basically, they're setting it up to say like they don't make money. So the reason why their stock is valuable is because they have all these users. Okay, here we go.
Right.
Our research indicates that Roblox is lying to investors, regulators, and advertisers about the number of people, in quotes. They literally write people in quotes, and I'm putting big air quotes up here in my office. The number of people on its platform, inflating the key metric by 25 to 42%. We also show how engagement hours, another key metric, is inflated by an estimate of 100%. Since prior to going public, Roblox has reported the number of people on its platform in dozens of official investor communications. So they are saying they have publicly stated to their shareholders that they have 54.1 million people coming to Roblox every day. That is their statement according to their 2022 quarterly report.
Yep.
Our findings, Hindenburg Research, show that the company's reported number of people regularly matches Roblox daily active users. But daily active users, DAUs, according to Roblox's own disclosures, quote, are not a measure of unique individuals accessing Roblox. So I'm sorry to get in the weeds on this, but it's very important for the ramifications of this. You and I know, coming from the sort of media world, that like the difference between visitors, which like I can visit a website 5 times, or I can click on 5 different articles, and I am one unique person, but I have generated 5 page views on a website, right? So what they're saying here is that daily active users they do have 54 million daily active users, but those daily active users are not individual human beings. And here is why. Roblox intentionally conflates people with DAUs, daily active users, which inflates the reported number of people. In 2023, Roblox told the SEC it is, quote, unable to identify if a user has multiple accounts. The company's response to the SEC appears to be a flat-out lie. Multiple former employees told us that Roblox does internally track single users with multiple accounts, referring to the process as de-alting. So what they're saying here is that many Roblox people who use the platform have multiple accounts that they just keep open in tabs to like farm resources or create multiple be in multiple game worlds or communicate with different subsets of people, but it's only one actual person, which you know everyone listening to this knows. Like we've all been farming gold in World of Warcraft with 7 accounts for centuries at this. Like this is not new, but according to the research, they're saying Roblox is not being truthful, but that this alting is inflating their numbers significantly. Quote, if that number is not de-alted, I think the actual one would be anywhere between 30 to 20% lower, a former data scientist told us. So basically accusing Roblox of inflating their actual user numbers 30%, which is like tens of millions of people, I suppose. But then I think the hubris of this is that Roblox forums detail how, like, publicly accessible community information details how users regularly have dozens of alternate accounts to farm for goods on Roblox, avert bans, and increase their follow accounts. So basically, like, people are posting in the Roblox owned forums to teach others how to have multiple accounts. And Roblox turns a blind eye because they love seeing their numbers being very high. In addition to alternate accounts, bots are rampant on the platform. For example, Roblox's 7th most popular game, which is a sum game called Adopt Me, has garnered over 83,000 Change.org signatures to remove it from the platform due to extensive botting that breaks Roblox. Their 2nd most visited game, Blocks Fruits, was dominated by traffic from Vietnam, where we found numerous Facebook groups, including 5 with 50 to 117,000 members, advertising tools so that people can run like bot farms in Roblox. So lots of traffic from Vietnam, which seems to be a hub for Roblox botting and bot farms. So anyway, this is basically implying that Roblox is defrauding investors and shareholders. And then the other side of this coin, this is actually really interesting. In addition to inflating the people, we also suspect Roblox inflates a second key metric, engagement hours. The company reported an extraordinary 2.4 average hours of engagement per day per user in 2023. So they're saying that, like, on average, every single Roblox user spends more than 2 hours a day on Roblox. For context, Hindenburg Research says this level of engagement is 58% higher than the average time spent by 8 to 12-year-olds playing all other mobile games combined, according to a 2021 survey. again, apples, oranges, lots of conjecture, lots of research that can be, conflated or weaponized here. But like, these are ridiculous claims by Roblox. And so even if this research is like half true, 1/4 true, it still paints an ugly picture.
It does, but nowhere near as ugly as when you get to the end of the report.
Here's
here's
the
get
cherry.
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
This has been known and this has been reported. Bloomberg did a really good report on this, which is that because this is a destination for children, because this is a social space where kids speak with other kids, but also there's seems to be a rampant pedophile problem on the platform. And that is, I'm going to offer sort of a parental perspective here. In general, as our kids come of age to use the internet, I am concerned with privacy. I'm concerned with mental health. I'm concerned with not addiction, but like this idea that like kids, look, we all feel the draw and the pull of like, I got to check into my game. I got to check social media. I got to check notifications. And it's a fucking curse for everyone, all adults. We don't want that burden to be on kids. We want to stave off that burden as long as we can for our own kids. So those are when my kids pick up a phone or a tablet, those are our primary concerns. And we have active, open dialogues and a rapport of trust with our children to ensure that they understand what the fuck they're doing on the internet. And I say that to say pedophiles are probably the lowest thing on the totem pole of concern for me as a parent, because theoretically, I know who my children are interacting with on the internet, and I know that they can talk to us about things that may or may not be. If they encounter something inappropriate, they would come to us, or they would know what to do. So I do not fear pedophiles. And also, both things can be true in that many millions of kids just go into what are essentially unmoderated, unregulated chat rooms where they talk to strangers in Roblox all day long. And clearly, many journalists have uncovered that this is like the perfect breeding ground, or the perfect gathering point for people who want to groom children or solicit them or whatever the fuck these people do. And then the part that is so damning here in this report is that Roblox has that they are aware of the issue, and they have actively ignored it, and also reduced the budget and reduced the resource allocation for trust and safety workers, which are the human beings at a company or that a company outsources to like make sure that people are safe when they use Facebook or Etsy or Roblox. And the fact that there's a rampant pedophile problem and the company's like, nah, whatever, we don't want to pay to protect the kids because that hurts our bottom line, is the sort of conclusion that Hindenburg Research and many journalistic outlets that cover games have concluded. This is fucked, and this whole thing is really fucked up.
Yeah, like even looking at the summary and reading what's at the bottom, I'm like, well, as these, like, is it being investigated in any way? Is anything being done?
I think a regulatory reckoning is probably coming to hit Roblox really hard, and the fact that they have not gotten ahead of it by getting a handle on this shit is alarming. If I was an investor, I'd be like, you gotta get your shit together. And also, as people in our Discord have pointed out, and specifically Tricky Love shouted it out. I don't know if we pasted a link, but there is an extraordinary 2-part documentary from the brilliant geniuses over at a YouTube channel called People Make Games. If you're not familiar with these guys, they do amazing work, and they did this like expose about how Roblox is built on enticing children to create their own video game worlds so that other children can play them. And then they say, like, if you make a popular world, you're going to make money and you're going to be a video game developer. But instead, they only pay them in like Robux, which is essentially like hiring a coal miner to break their back mining coal and then paying them in coal bucks so they can get souvenirs from the coal store instead of paying them in dollars to actually make a living, which is a real thing that, like, you know, historically corporations have done to their employees. So basically, she's kind of cracking open that, like, this entire fucking platform is built on child labor under the guise and sort of the trickery that, like, hey, kids, you can be a video game developer. And then kids sign up and work their asses off to try to realize their dreams, only to get fucking nothing in return except, like, I don't know, notoriety in the game world. I have no idea. I've never even opened Roblox. So also ignorant guy over here talking about a game I've never played. So lying to investors, child labor abuses, and hey, there seem to be a lot of pedophiles here. What are we doing? Nothing. All these things combined, it seems really bad. Here is the big asterisk that I will addend to this discussion. As I was reading this, I'm like, holy shit. And my sort of journalistic brain is like, okay, who is Hindenburg Research? What is their angle? Who are these people? This is not a journalistic entity. Why are they doing this? You know, are they doing this out of their goodwill? Are they trying to help the world? So I send this to a very close friend who works in financial services, and he gave me like a gut reaction, like a loose reaction. So I'm not going to name him or quote him directly because he was like, I have not looked into this specifically, but his response was, oh yeah, these firms are pains in the ass and they are bastards, because what they do is they create all this they look at a company and they say, if we were to uncover a scandal or lies or bad financial reporting, we can uncover that and publish that. And then when the stock of the company goes down, we short sell it and make a fuck ton of money. So basically,
there's a note about that literally right here at the bottom of the summary of the report.
Okay, on Hindenburg's site?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you get to the bottom of the bullet points, there's a note that says, after extensive research, we've taken a short position in shares of Roblox.
Yes.
And it's like, so I was really befuddled by that. I was like, okay, so what you're saying is that you just told me all these things about this terrible company, but that you own their stock.
Because they're putting a hit out on Roblox in order to devalue the company. And then look, you might know better than me. I don't fully understand short selling, but I assume it means gobbling up the stock when it's low and then riding the wave of profit when it inevitably goes back up, because all these shitty corporations abuse their users and everyone's like, I am outraged, and then the stock goes down and then everyone forgets and then people play Roblox again. And so it's fucking brilliant, honestly. This is like a very smart way to do like very dastardly financial maneuvers, but I guess I wanted to explain that because this is not journalism. This is, again, a hit piece that, even if it was partially true, still smells real bad for Roblox. But also these people seem to have a vested interest in tanking the stock. So
I think they do, but I also think that, you know, if this was the only report, I think I'd be maybe more suspicious.
It corroborates tons of journalism.
Yeah, but it just makes me wonder why nothing's being done yet. But I mean, you know, you look at the Ticketmaster situation and it's another example of, you know, well, they're finally doing something about that. But I mean, Eddie Vedder was upset about that in the 90s. And I don't know how long ago that was, right?
Well, I mean, look, I think if you ask your 87-year-old white male congressperson, hey, what's up with Roblox? I'm sure they will have a very comprehensive and informed view on the topic. I'm saying this in jest, of course. Like the facetious answer to your question is like, how can Congress regulate this shit that they have no fucking clue what the hell's going on?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's part of the problem, right? Part of the problem is like, you know, they'd have to shut the entire platform down.
Or just fine the fuck out of them until they pay restitution to victims of abuse or like that. I mean, you don't have to shut it down. You just have to say, you can't do this anymore. You can't do that anymore. Pay $10 million to these people, class action, whatever. And I don't know. Is that a slap on the wrist or is that like actual change? But look, social media has been unraveling democracy and creating extremists across the world for 2 decades now. And we have not been able to regulate that either. So, you know, I'm sorry to be. Anyway, I really found it fascinating. I really found like all the players, all the pieces of this thing to be very interesting. And these accusations to be like, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, it truly is. It truly is. It makes me feel kind of sad. But it does, you know, when you were reading it, it's like I was laughing to myself and I was thinking like, you know, I guess I should be shocked by all these things. And until you got down to the bottom part with, you know, where things get really, really worse, I was just kind of like, I don't think it's a good thing that my reaction is mostly just like, that's what a business does. Well, that sounds right. Like, I mean, it's look, like I shouldn't be that cynical, but I know it to be true.
Hey, man, late stage capitalism.
Late stage capitalism, like it's the inflating of the numbers and stuff. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how normal that is.
Well, that's literally my next question for you. Is like in your time working as a business writer and covering these types of companies, let's pretend for 1 second that this research is 100% true, that they're inflating their users by 30% and inflating engagement by like 100+%. Is that like, yep, another day on Wall Street? Or is that like, whoa, that's like a lot?
No, people are lying constantly. Constantly. They're lying constantly. And like once you're inside companies where you like, and to me, right, and this is such a big topic and I can't obviously go digging deep into it, but to me, a huge piece is that everything costs so much money and people, and I feel like people's, the goals in a lot of businesses are beyond out of reach. Like they're just insane and ridiculous and not reachable. And so to me, as a result, one of the things you have to do is it's like, well, you're going to either lose your job or figure out a way to meet those numbers.
Right.
And so I think that's part of what makes these businesses lie. But at the parts where it was like, oh, they're inflating their numbers.
Good people who are trying to do their best and protect their interests. And in the process, fudging / lying / bending. And then that cascades over the thousands of employees that a company might have. And then, oh God. Everything's false. Like everything's wrong.
It's interesting to me because, you know, like when you make what's called a deck, for those who don't know what that is, a deck is like a presentation slide thing that you make that you would show executives basically because they need to have things explained to them in certain kinds of ways. Or if you do a presentation, you might also do a deck, you know, a slideshow as some people might call it, but we call it a deck. But anyway, you know, when you do those, you know, you have to use certain formats. Then that'll be like one I do is called the 3 Ps. And so it'll be like, you know, what are you proud of? What are your priorities? What are your problems? And like the way that everything is sketched, because you have to sketch it. This is what you have to do. You have to talk. So like, let's just say nothing good happened that week. I have to invent something for proud. Or I have to take a thing that, you know, like I have to make it look good because otherwise I'm going to hear it. So there is a lot of fudging. There is a lot of, I mean, making up numbers is another thing. That's, I'm not doing that, but I'm not surprised if at higher levels of businesses, they are doing that. Because, why wouldn't they? Like, one thing that I know for a fact that a lot of websites have been doing in the last few years and maybe even longer is buying traffic to make their traffic numbers.
Yeah,
and
of course.
That's, like subterfuge.
It's called,
basically, but
it's called arbitrage, which is like,
Right.
hey, we can, if we spend, if a person landing on our website makes us 10 cents, I'm making up numbers. If one person clicking on an article makes us 10 cents and we could buy traffic for 5 cents or 8 cents, let's say,
Correct.
on Facebook, because buying traffic from social media is ridiculously effective and ridiculously cheap. You
Why
might
wouldn't
be
you?
buying it from India or whatever, but like, and these are not necessarily, if everything's done above board, this is not fake traffic. It's not bot traffic. It is real people scrolling Facebook being like, oh, what did Donald Trump say today? Click. And then they go to the website and then they monetize that user 10 cents, but they paid 8 cents. And then you get your books and it's like, we have 10 million visitors and we made $5,000 and we're great. But in fact, that's not audience.
no.
Those are not readers. They are people
Correct.
you tricked into clicking on an ad with a sensational headline on a platform like Facebook.
Correct.
And it's a fucking spreadsheet. It's called arbitrage, and you're just like, if we spend this, we get this, and then we can live another day. And
yeah.
it sucks because when you're a person who wants to build real audience and real meaning and do meaningful work, and then you hop over to the business side and they're like, well, we'll just buy all the traffic for this month. And it's like,
And you're like, what?
what?
But yeah,
That's a thing?
No. But and it's so funny too, because obviously, right? Like I know that it's been you've been on your own for a little while working, right? But like in the media world, the experience I'm having is that, and a lot of people call it the TikTok effect, like people are, their attention span is shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And it's like, yeah, that's part of it, like for sure. But then I had this interesting conversation earlier today, and I've been thinking about it a lot. Okay, let's say you're playing, I don't know, Baldur's Gate tonight.
Yes, I am. Go
you're like,
on.
in fact, yes. So let's
How
say
did
you're
you know
playing
that?
it and you need a hint for something, or you need help with something.
Yeah.
You need something.
Yeah.
So you're like, all right, well, I'm just going to go type that in a search engine, and it comes up and you try to read the page and it has 76 ads on it, videos, floating things that you have to clear out of the way. It's an unbelievable pain in the ass. And I was okay.
In Baldur's Gate, when you reach the goblin camp, full screen ad, video playing, sound on, I'm like, what? I was just reading a sentence.
Right, exactly. So, like, to me, of course, the TikTok effect / the social media effect is a part of everything. But I also suspect that a part of it is that people don't want to be on web pages anymore because they've become so unpleasant.
They're horrifying. Yeah,
That's horrible. And I don't spend time on
said.
web pages. Like,
no.
We've had these conversations at work about, at many works, actually, not just this one, about, okay, well, how do we navigate, or how do we get people on the site, or how do we get, people on mobile or whatever. And I don't really go to websites unless I'm going to look at a product I want to buy. I don't really go to websites anymore. I and everyone does the same thing. I've learned, like, I was learning about this too. I was like, oh yeah, like everyone just kind of finds things through social, because social is where everyone hangs out.
Yes. Yep.
So there's all these different interesting pieces to it all, but I don't know. Yeah, I I thought about it quite a bit, and I was like, man, it's we always joke about the the get off my lawn old person, that's like, well, in my day things were like this, and I'm like, in my day the internet was fun. Remember that? But another part of me is like, but there are parts of the internet that are still good and important.
There definitely are 100%.
But it's still,
but you have crystallized the core. the core issue, you know, whether you think it's an issue or not, but it's like all the attention has coalesced on the news feed, whatever platform or platforms you inhabit. It is all about this algorithmic flow of other people's and brands and publishers' content. And it is no longer, it's about agency.
Yep.
I am no longer deciding which websites are and which writers and which YouTubers are good and valuable. I am simply opening an app and being like, what do you got? And then whatever's interesting, I click on. Whatever, who knows where it's from? Who knows who's writing what? Who knows what angle anyone has? And being conscientious about media consumption, I feel like I'm an alien. I feel like every time I touch the internet, I'm like, who is this? Who's writing that? What's their background? Is this reputable? Blah, blah. And then a normal person who is educated and smart, and I respect them, they're just like, well, I don't know, it's a TikTok. I don't know, some lady did a thing, and that was great. I think it's great. And I'm like, what lady? What? What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Yep.
Anyway, I you know, you and I think about this all the time. I'm sure many of our listeners do too. I'm actually working on a little side project about like literacy, especially for kids and teenagers. So all this discussion is like, we'll probably make it into the script for that at some point. So it's good to talk about it. And again, just to map it back to the Roblox thing, it's the same thing. It's not exact. It's not 1-to-1, but a Roblox social space, it would be analogous to your Facebook feed of like, here's my buddy saying this, and here's this guy. Oh, I love to play games with this guy. Here's a random person. I have no fucking clue what this is, but they sure are saying weird stuff. What's this over here? I don't know. Like, and that the commodification of that attention is where we get into trouble with society. And then if you do that with children who are not supposed to be on the internet, according to the United States regulatory rules, COPPA, which was written in 1998, if you are under 13, you are not allowed to have these accounts. Yet here we are with YouTube and Roblox and all these things, where kids hang out.
Yep.
And those rules are outdated and they need to be they need to be amended and fixed. But if you're a parent and you hand your kids keys to the internet and say, "What? Go crazy."
Yeah.
It's not going to go well.
Honestly, at this point, like, I would be terrified if I was a parent. I would. Because, like, how do you... Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing.
Speaking from a place of immense privilege, I have... my daughter is 11. We've had multiple instances where, like, my friends have a phone and these people have a phone and I don't have a phone. And I said, like, look, I don't know how to fucking cook anything. I don't know how cars work. I don't know how to fix climate change, but I am an expert on this topic. And you have to understand that the internet is awesome and it's amazing. And food is put on our table every night because mommy and daddy look at their fucking phones. That's how we make a living. And also, it's not good for children's brains if it's not handled responsibly. And my daughter, after a lot of consoling and conversations and some tears, she is a smart kid. So we're very lucky. She understood, and we give her access to certain things and we allow her privileges, but she doesn't have an Instagram account and probably won't for many years, if not ever, if we can help it. And that's how we run the household. And that's very hard. to do for any parent. I can't sit here in judgment of parents who let their kids go on TikTok, because it's very hard. It's very hard to deny your kids that, because every other kid has it. So it's like saying,
Yep.
Hey, all your friends are going to Stacy's house tonight. Sorry, you can't go, but everyone else is going to be there.
Yeah.
And they're going to have a great time. It sucks.
It does. You're totally right.
Anyway,
what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. Stay away from Roblox. It seems like a bad time. That's my hot take on that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you.
We're going to take a break, but the part you've all been waiting for. Colette bought Silent Hill 2 remake, and she's going to talk about it right after this. Welcome back. The hills are silent, I've heard.
Man, it is, and I realized this when I sat down the other night, and I was like, all right, I'm going to buy it. I'm moving. I'm trying to save money, because you know how it is when you're like, I got to pay you got to spend a lot of money on a move. And so I'm just like, all right, I'm trying to be moderate. But I was like, I just don't think I can pass this up. I just feel like I have to have the experience. Yes. It's just too important for me. So
there are some games where you want to be in the zeitgeist. You want to experience it as the other fans are experiencing it. There's just something about that. I don't think you and I do it often, but there are certain games that are musts.
See, it's funny. I don't give a shit about the zeitgeist. I only care about having the experience as soon as possible. Yeah, I don't.
As soon as possible. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't care what anybody is saying about the game, because, I know there was a lot of controversy with, Bloober, are they going to ruin it? Whatever. I really liked Bloober, so I felt like they were actually going to do it really perfect justice. And they did exactly what I expected them to do. Okay. So I'm not really like an I told you so, but it's more kind of like nothing changed between what I had in my mind that I was going to get and what I got.
Yeah.
Except that I'm experiencing it, in reality, in real time, and it's awesome.
Great. Love it.
So my biggest thematic thing that I want to say about this before I really start is that I think Bloober did something so incredibly admirable with this game, and that, a lot of developers, when they remake a game, and especially if it's a classic game, they're like, we got to change it. So, and this is not in any way criticism about Final Fantasy VII Remake, but they made a lot of changes.
Yeah, a major mechanical and
of changes,
narrative.
Right, they fucked with the story. Bloober was very smart. You can tell in every iota and millisecond of playing this game how much these people that made this remake love the original game.
Right.
It feels like, and this is the biggest compliment I think I can pay, it feels like they did not feel the need to put their stamp on it. And I mean, their stamp is on it because of what they did, right? But I guess it's kind of like when a person takes something and they're like, let's just make up a random comparison. A person's like, well, I'm going to paint my version of the Mona Lisa, right? And what did you hear in that sentence? My version. So they make the Mona Lisa and they're like, but I'm going to make her have red hair or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that kind of art interpretation at all. But what I think is so magnificent about this is that with Square, and they remade their own game, but with Square, they were like, well, we're going to remake it and we're going to deepen and expand this world. And I can't say I didn't enjoy that. With this game, I feel like what Bloober did was they saw all the opportunities to show so much more in what was already there, and they didn't have to deviate away from anything that was already there. They just used it to their advantage. So instead of going, oh, well, when James goes to the well in the beginning of the game and he sees the very first save spot, you could put extra sounds, or you could do this, or you could do that. They didn't take any of those chances. So what I think I'm sensing as I'm playing is how much they chose to play, how much they chose to respect the original in every breath and movement of the game. That said, And I so admire them for that. Like, I have been on their social media like, you guys just killed this. I love it. Because I just think of them and I think, God, they had to endure so much negative feedback while making this game, which is now getting, 10s and 9.5s. Like, it's a massive success.
Because the fandom didn't trust them with it. Is that what you're implying?
I'm assuming that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, some people were like, no, I don't like it. I really liked
Or they were releasing
Bloober.
clips and trailers, and they were like, "This isn't my Silent
No,
Hill."
they were like that before that.
Okay.
Before there were even clips, when it came out, it was going to be Bloober. They were like, "Oh, Bloober." For me, I think I might have even talked about it on the show when my first experience with a Bloober game was the oh my God, it's slipping me now. They made a series of horror games that I was like, Layers of Fear.
You did talk about this, yes.
Yeah, talked about Layers of Fear. And I was like, that atmosphere and that storytelling is so good. It actually reminded me a bit of Silent Hill too. And I was like, man, these guys are incredible. So when it was in like talks that they might do it, I was like, oh God, they would kill it because they had it nailed on atmosphere, setting, movement, and story. But with this, they didn't even have to touch. The story's perfect. Like, it doesn't need to be touched, So I'll talk a little bit about how far I've gotten. So started the game, every beat you've ever thought wow by in Silent Hill, the moment when, James is in the bathroom alone in the beginning, when he walks out and you see that vista overlooking Silent Hill, that feeling of descending into the town and like things are just getting more and more wrong as you get a little deeper. All those beats are there. They absolutely kept all those beats. But I think to me, one of the things that had the biggest impact on me that I went, wow, as I was playing was that I had been a little reserved about seeing an actor play James because in my mind, James was just kind of this fuzzy, like, you kind of sort of can't really tell what his face looks like. You kind of can, but not real good.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Funny.
Right. And so when I saw like his face in great detail because an actor was representing him, I was like, I don't know if I like that. I don't know how I feel about that. Right.
Because your mind's eye, your younger imagination may put a face on him, but that doesn't match new face.
I mean, really, like if you zoom in and look at a picture of his face, I mean, you can kind of see it.
Okay.
Well, not exactly a blob.
It's like 3 polygons.
But, well, I mean, it's a fucking PlayStation 2 game. Like, you have to think about the time period. So it's like, I'm so I remember what he looked like. And, I think they did a really good job with the person they cast. But that said, I just felt weird about it. I was like, yeah, I guess that's him, but I don't know, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, the game starts. First scene loads. There's an iconic scene where James is in a very dark, shitty looking bathroom looking at his own face and he's having a moment. And I saw it in the trailer and I was like, this is weird. I don't know how I feel about this. And then I watched it playing the beginning and it was the coolest feeling because every moment of doubt just fell away at the same time.
Nice.
It was like, bam. Like I watched him go through that movement and I was like, I'm in it. I'm fully in it.
If you lined up the scenes, the original and this one, like side by side, is it like frame perfect or is it like the same cutscene, but it's its own animation? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Yeah,
there are some videos. I haven't pulled them
I'm
up
sure
and
people
watched
are
them
doing
yet.
that. Yeah.
Well, actually, Konami's doing that.
Oh,
so
interesting.
You can like actually compare directly. So yeah, like I need to watch some. I am actually curious, but they match the beats in my mind, if that makes sense. And I've replayed Silent Hill 2 about 10 times. So I think I could maybe be right.
They've done the job. Yeah. You know what is? Sorry, I'm eager to hear more. But like,
no, you're fine.
There's a. It's not a saying, but like when you watch a movie, nobody says, "Oh, that editing, so good."
No
one ever says that.
Editors have to live in silence. That's what we do.
When editing is great, no one appreciates it. But when editing is bad, it's like, what the fuck's up with this movie? And so the point is like this sort of invisible hand that you are appreciating of like this. All the beats are right and it feels good, but they did not, like the editor's not necessarily adding or they are fixing, but they're not adding lines to the script. They're simply putting it together in a way that feels right and emotional or whatever. And your description of how they're matching the beats, it just reminds me of that. So go on.
Now I'm super curious. I'm gonna have to like go watch those videos because I wonder, but like I guess my inner metronome was like, that's correct.
Great phrase.
Thanks. It's like I write for a living. So yeah, all of that perfect. Then there's another super pivotal scene that I think other fans know, where once you get down into Silent Hill, you walk through a graveyard and you meet someone. And she is probably my favorite character in the entire game. And she's a really complex character. And I always felt
Queen Elizabeth II.
Right. She's just there.
She's just
Silent
there.
Hill. And I think, when you love something dearly and you have it really engraved on your heart and you see it in a new way, a part of you is always going to be like, like you just, you can't. And she was a character almost more than James that I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can do this, And then, she's when you walk in, she's looking at a grave. And, he asked her, like, excuse me, is this the way to Silent Hill? And the moment she turned around and started talking, I was like, oh, I'm buying it. The performance is so much better, but I always felt like the stilted performance kind of worked because all these people that he meets in this town are so fucked up that you're just like, it makes sense, right? Like,
so are they referencing or mirroring the stiltiness of a PS2 game, or they're reimagining it with a modern performance? So to
they
speak? Actually
did it good.
Do you think that this is motion capture? I have not really seen the game in motion. It's
100% motion capture.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool,
so it's
cool,
beautiful and very, it works. It's organic. It flows. But it was crazy because watching her turn around and start to say that dialogue that I have like memorized, I was just like, oh. And I had this really unusual awareness that the only other time I can think of experiencing is when I played Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was watching it roll out and going, I've played the original game for the last time. And I can feel that happening as I'm watching this because there'd just be no reason for me to ever go back to playing it because you can see so much more. You can experience so much more. Like, okay, so here's another thing I really wanted to talk about. So if you play Silent Hill 2, the original, the enemies are scary, but they're not hard. Like, they just kind of wander around the map, like you'll have, like, there's a whole section where you're in an apartment building and it's narrow, so like you'll they'll be in your way, but like there's always a way to deal with it. Like there's this one enemy that projectile vomits, which sounds gross and it really is. But like, it was like they would give you a cue and you'd be like, okay, they're gonna do it, and you'd be like, let me get out of the way, and they'd do it, and then they'd go back to, it was very much like the slow zombie, you know what I mean? Like when you see an old zombie movie and the zombies are just like it was very much that. These motherfuckers are unhinged now. Like it is a totally, now this is what they changed. And I think this is super interesting that they chose to change this.
Does this affect the mechanics of combat then?
Yes. Because, okay, here's an example. So I'm sure you're familiar, at least must have seen in the past 2 decades, what the mannequin enemies look like in Silent Hill 2, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in the original, like I said, they kind of shamble around. In this one, one of the constructs of Silent Hill is that you find a radio, and you have the radio, and then when, for whatever reason, when you get near any enemy, the radio gets louder. So that's how you like navigate, you know? So, you know, the radio gets louder and you're like, okay, there's something coming. But like, when you see these mannequins, like it used to be like, oh shit, it's over there. I got to get out of the way. Now that shit will fly across the room and like attach itself to your face like a face hugger.
I mean, that is
it's
like,
so aggressive. Like, and I was
it's
like,
radically
okay.
different. That's mechanically radically different. So,
Yes. So that's where they chose to change. It's so far.
What is the combat like in the original game? It might be a better frame of reference because I really don't know.
It's very wooden and it's very simple.
Slow. Okay.
Yes. The first thing you get is like a big piece of wood with nails in it, and that's like your only weapon for a while. And you bash shit to death. That's what you do. But like, super simple. This feels like modern combat. So, you know, actually, I could be wrong, but I don't even know if there was a dodge in the original game. I think you just ran away. But in this game, you dodge. Your attacks are the same basic attacks from the original game, but it feels. You have to think now. You can't just be like, oh, there's a mannequin over there. I'm going to wait till it gets over here. And then I'm just going to bash it a few times and stomp on it and it's dead. No, like it's going to fly across the room at you. You have to like get out of the way. You have to get a hit or two in and then you got to dodge again because you can't get more than a few hits in without it like ripping into you. So everything, all the basic enemies became actual threats is the best way for me to put it.
Yeah. I mean, you have to revamp the combat mechanics. If it's so old school, dated.
It was just too. You know how everyone talks about Resident Evil. You know, it's like Resident Evil also has this very like, you know, there's a specific word for that kind of tank controls. Like it's the kind of like tanky feeling controls. But so I think that this was a great change. I am extremely amused by the fact that they made this world so much better.
Yeah.
The way it looks, the way it acts, the way the things in it act, that it actually stresses me out to play it now. And that I find that funny because I've never been stressed playing Silent Hill, this particular game. Like, because I guess it was what they could do at the time with what they had. But yeah, it's extremely effective now.
So you like it? Obviously, you're really enjoying those mechanical changes, but like, what is the community saying? Maybe you haven't even looked or paid close attention.
I don't care. I don't fucking care what people say on the internet. Like,
but I mean, wonder if like, are diehard fans like, it should have been a frame for frame remake and they changed the combat that made it so good? Or are the fans like, they brought it into the modern era and it's got all the same spookiness, but also it feels like a modern game? I'm sure everyone is saying everything, but I would be curious if, the reviews are positive across the board,
the overall reviews fans. Like of the game are very good, but I don't know what people are saying because I don't read the internet anymore unless I have to. So I don't know what people are saying about it. I can say that for me, one thing I've absolutely noticed is that you'll go through an area and you'll be like, okay, I need to get through this area. I have this many health drinks in this area. I have this many bullets in this area. And you have to figure out, like, it's kind of like you have to memorize a section because the game has auto saves, but they're very selective. They don't happen throughout your entire playthrough because I think they wanted to keep a certain iconic feeling of the things you save at because they're like these red squares and they're kind of, it would have felt weird if they had taken that out. That's the best way I can put it because it just feels when you see them like, I don't know, they fit in the world. It just feels like something is very wrong when you look at that square. But
and also, again, not knowing the game, but it's like there should be a sense of danger when exploring a new area because if you die, then you will lose progress, and there is something to be said for that mechanically, I suppose.
Yes, so that's what's happening to me right now. So I made it
as a person who saves every 10 seconds in Baldur's Gate in case I say the wrong thing and everyone dies.
Right. So like, for instance, the area I'm in now, I'm still in an apartment, but the floor I'm on, I haven't found my save space yet. So last night I probably went through that same area doing the same series of events, maybe like 7 or 8 times. And I did not make it to the point where I got to another save spot because I was navigating the space and figuring out, okay, there's an enemy here. Oh, this part will have 2. I need to get out of the way when I hear this sound.
Was that frustrating or was that a
Yes.
like a good, okay. So yeah.
Yes,
Interesting.
but I have ADHD and I can't handle that either. So that's another thing that makes it hard.
It's a fine balance of like, hey, I'm learning the room, I'm learning the mechanics, so I am doing things over and over again. And then you cross over the line of like, okay, fucking, I just got to get in the door here. What the fuck, you know?
Right. And so it's really cute. So my husband, like, he knows I have this problem. He knows that this is a function of my ADHD. And so he'll sit with me while I play. And if he sees me getting really frustrated, he'll be like, babe, but you did better on that run. He's like, oh, but you got this and this. And then he's like, yeah, he's like, you did good. Keep going. You're going to get past it. Like, he'll actually root me on, which is so cute. And then like when I pass it, he'll be like, see, he's like, you just had to memorize the, you get through this section or whatever. And he'll be like, good job, honey.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really cute.
Shout out to Pat.
Yeah. He's great. But yeah, anyway, so yes, what I do is I'll play in the evening. I won't play Silent Hill when it's light outside. I just don't want to.
You fair. Yep.
So I wait until it's nighttime.
It's against the law, I think. I've been told. Yeah.
But yeah, I play it at night, and it is interesting coming to the game and going, this is going to piss me off. But, it is, and that's okay. Because it's become a challenging game. One thing I did see, and like I said, I haven't looked around a lot, but one thing I did briefly see, because I was looking up something else, was that people are saying that hard mode is brutal.
Sure.
And hard mode was known for being brutal in Silent Hill games before, not so much for the combat, but for the puzzles. Like, the puzzles are like levels of obscure that are just ridiculous on that level. Yeah, I don't.
Interesting
I don't want
that difficulty in games is typically usually about combat or whatever, health points. How you would make a certain puzzle harder or easier in the environment is actually really interesting. Achievement for a game like that. Yeah, totally. I can't think of another game that I've ever played that scales the puzzle difficulty up or down based on settings. I've never heard of that before. That's cool.
Yeah, Silent Hill did that. That was, I think they did it in the first game. I could be wrong, but I think they did. But I've heard it's rough. And like, based on this, what I'm playing now, I'm like, damn, that shit must be rough. But like, I would watch someone play it just to see.
Yeah, just to see how devious it gets.
How it would be, because I think that would be pretty wild. But yeah, I'm really curious because there's so many pivotal moments of this game that I haven't hit yet, and that I'm looking really forward to moving through. But at the same time, I'm not in a hurry. I'm okay if tonight I don't get much further. Like it's every detail was really thoughtfully made, and you can really, really tell. And another thing I like, but once again, really does add to how jarring it is that if you play it, I don't know how they did it on PC, but if you play it on PS5, the radio is now in the controller.
Ooh, that's a nice touch.
Yes, they use all the fun haptics and everything, so you'll feel movements throughout the entire controller depending on what you're doing. But yeah, like when that radio starts to go off, it's in your hands. And if my cats are sitting next to me, they're like, what the fuck? Like, they do not like that noise at all, and I cannot blame them. And then I really loved it because the first time you see Pyramid Head, you see him, whatever, but it's on the other side of like, or her, we don't know, on the other side of these bars. Like, it's like you're in a hallway and there's bars and you just see it standing there. And it's very creepy because it doesn't do anything. It just is standing there. But the radio got louder, like much louder in the original game. And it was always like, the takeaway always felt like, oh, whatever is in these things that's reacting to the radio is much louder in this thing. Right. And then in this version, they did add a few new sounds to the overall mix, and it is just the most jarring sound. Like, I was literally like, I got to get out of this hallway.
I love that you have all these detailed comparison points of like in the original this and then remake this, and then also like and now in the remake it's like wow, like extra creepy, extra layers of creepiness from environmental design and sound design. It's great. Because if I just, even if I was a horror fan, I just boot up this game, I'd be like, wow, this game's creepy. But you're dissecting like it was this and now is this is it's just cool. It's cool to learn about it.
I'm so glad because, I wondered if it would be a little bit like, well, if I'm not playing that game, it's not as interesting. No. But, this has been such a beloved game for me that I knew that I have all of the original memorized, and I was just like, wow. And then right before we recorded this, I was like, I want to look up a picture of the original, like James Sunderland, and he looks like a potato.
You're right. I mean, I have not seen it in some time, but
he literally looks like a
to work with there.
Have you ever? I'm sure you have seen that meme of Squall from Final Fantasy VIII where the girl is like saying like yes, you're the best looking guy here. It kind of feels like that. It's not as bad, but it's not good. It's not good. And you're like, oh fuck, my perception is altered forever.
Back in my day, we had imaginations, kids.
I will say this. I hope so much that this is a success, a huge success financially. Yeah. Like the reviews are great, but I hope it's enough of a success for them that maybe they'll ask Bloober to remake one of the other ones.
That's a great question because it's going to be like critics love it and fans love it and casual horror people love it. And it sold 1.5 million copies, which is not enough to do another one. You know what I mean? Like how big is the audience for it? That will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I am very interested to see that because one thing that I feel, and because 2 was so lauded and loved, like I just wish that 1 could be remade properly and well, because it really is where it started. And I know that 2 probably sold much better than 1 did, but like if this went well and they were like, all right, now you're going to remake 1, I would be over the fucking moon. Yeah. Because it's a good game, but to me, it's not playable anymore. Like it's just too old, and it's I find it very hard to play at this point in the game. So, but I'm loving it. I'm sure I'll talk about it more, not next week because I'm moving. But eventually, once I get settled in, I will probably play it again when I'm tired of unpacking boxes, and I will have more updates. So I think after I'm in the apartments, and I believe after that I go to the hospital, which is very famous because that's where the famous nurses are. And I'm like, man, what are they gonna fucking do to me? Like, are they gonna bend me over and try to rape me?
And then you'll get back to playing Silent Hill. that's just a joke. But my brain was like, I'm in the apartment, and then I'll be in, and I'm like, wait, are you talking about moving or are you talking about the game? Okay, got it.
Oh yeah, no, that wasn't very clear. No, the hospital
it's me, not you.
Is kind of a big
a big set piece.
Kind of a big the area is like, I mean, all of them are big and it's different ways, I guess. But I briefly saw a review in IGN that said Silent Hill 2 isn't about having fun. It's about exploring grief and guilt, parts of the human experience we traditionally avoid. I was like, that's all accurate, and that's a part of why.
Based on what you've said about this game, what you have shared with me about what the game is, that is exactly what you have talked about here many times.
That it feels more unpleasant now. And that sounds like a strange thing to say, to advocate a game. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, like I pulled this game up on Steam and it has 8,800 reviews and it's got 5 stars.
Yeah. Okay. So 8,800 total reviews and it's been out for 3-4 days.
Yeah. Right? Not long at all. So obviously that'll probably vary with time.
And I who knows, but I'm going to venture a guess that the vast majority of players might end up on console, PS5, PS4. Here's a question. Is it PS5 only? Did they make a version for PS4 or is this a forward looking.
I think it's
title.
PS5 and PC only right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then I think it'll come to Xbox later, but I think the exclusive is PS5 and Steam for probably the first year or 6 months or something.
Sure. Yeah. So there's a longer tail on this for sure. I only ask because, like, again, PS5s are popular, but not as popular as the PS4. Like, there are way more PS4s in the wild than there are PS5s. So that there is even people who want to play this game may not have access to it just yet. So that will be interesting to see,
I mean, I'll say this. I don't know what this... I mean, it would look flawless on the PC. It would look even better, I'm sure, than it looks on my PS5. But I feel like the experience of the haptics of the controller and the sounds coming from the controller, like the radio, like, I'm really glad I got it on that console.
Yep.
I think it would be very enjoyable otherwise, but it just really works.
I'm really jealous of that because, and this is a little in the weeds, but I have a DualSense PS5 controller. I love it. If I plugged it into my PC and a game supported haptics and audio, I would get that same experience as that you're getting.
But you can't have it because
frickin' reason that it does not work over Bluetooth. And I have looked into it. I have researched it. I have posted questions. I do not understand the technological reason why a PS5 can send audio and haptics to a controller over Bluetooth, but a PC cannot. I don't know why that is. But again, if you wire it in, you can get full support if the game supports it. The adaptive triggers work on supported games. It's awesome. But the audio haptics do not. And it's just because whenever I hear about it and whenever you talk about it, I'm like, that's so fucking cool. I want that. And it just doesn't work.
So cool. And of the games I have played, which I'm sure there's many others that use cool things too, but of the games I have played, I have to say, and I know I talked about it when I was playing it, Returnal's use of that was literally off the charts.
Amazing.
I felt every raindrop touch
I know.
my hands.
I was so excited and interested and jealous of that. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, it's honestly really something. I mean, of course, the games you want to play have to match up, but and I haven't had a ton that I've been like, oh wow, they really went all the way with this. They did.
I've been playing Helldivers, a Sony game. I've been playing. I own a variety of games that have native DualSense support, and I fire it up, and I'm like, oh, these triggers are wow. Okay, this is so cool. But then I look deeper, and it's like, no, I can't get. And you know what actually sucks too, when the developers, I don't know how to put this. When you're playing with haptics, which is different from Rumble.
Right.
Rumble is the motors inside the controller. Haptics are audio that plays out of the controller speakers.
Oh, my bad. I'm misusing the words then.
No, you're not. You are not misusing it, but I'm making a distinction because
okay.
I have encountered games where you Bluetooth the controller and you're playing, and it's the controller is supported, but the rumble is sent via haptics, which I can't get, which then disables rumble. And Helldivers was an example. I'm like, there's explosions everywhere. It's so weird they didn't include rumble in this game. And then I switched to Steam input, which then senses the controller as like an Xbox controller, and it's like, and I'm like, wait, but then you lose the triggers. You lose the what do you call it? I don't know if they're called haptic triggers or if they're called resistant triggers. So, for example, in Helldivers, I have to choose between resistant triggers or rumble because I cannot have both because the developer's like, rumble is haptics. And I'm like, no. Those are different things depending on what controller you're using. And it's either a bug or a settings oversight or something. But I wish I could have all three, and I cannot. I must choose depending on the game. So anyway, I have been finding that interesting as a fairly new DualSense owner. And come on, I don't know what magic is a PS5 doing that a PC cannot. Like, what do we? you're supporting the games and it's natively implemented. Just fucking put the haptics in. I don't know.
Yeah, you're like,
it may
you're
have
like,
to
"Come
do
on,
with
man."
audio. It may have to do with audio codecs, because there's the other side of the issue is that when you plug your controller in, people are like, oh shit, I can't hear the game. And that's because the PC thinks that your controller is a speaker and defaults the audio to the controller speaker. And what you actually need to do is say, no, my audio is on my speakers, but the controller does haptics in a different way. So again, there's some technological thing that needs to happen or be implemented that currently is not there for PC. Anyway, I am jealous of your haptics is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I don't know what to say other than you should be, which sounds super dickish, but like
It's true.
It's
just
so
true.
awesome. Like it's really freaking awesome is all I can say.
I love it.
So yeah, it's a rare experience to, I feel like the only other time I've had this kind of experience of, you know, seeing a world that I've loved for a really long time, you know, come into new focus, was with Final Fantasy VII Remake. And to be honest, as much as I love Final Fantasy VII, I think this game is a little bit dearer to my heart. I'm loving it. I'm not in a hurry. I'm just like, I'm going to chill. And then, you know, because it is stressful, I've been like Stardewing around the edges, just like, you know, I started a new save and I was just like, yeah, you know, if I just want to vibe after work, I'm going to play this. And then when it's dark and I'm ready, I'll fire up and play a few hours of Silent Hill.
It's perfect.
Until I get my head bashed in enough to the point to where I'm like, fuck. But yeah, loving it. Really loving it. Yep, that's it.
Well, best of luck with your move. Please pack up everything. Please wire your new house, and please play some more Silent Hill 2 when you land in your new living room or office, wherever you may be.
Sooner rather than later is my guess.
All right. Well, we're going to figure out what we're doing for next week. Maybe I'll give Sky a call and he'll come back. Maybe I'll sniff around the internet for a guest or something. But yeah, keep us posted in the Discord on your travails, and we will reconvene in 2 weeks. Final thoughts before we get out of here.
That was all the thoughts. I'm out of thoughts.
She's out of thoughts. She ran out. Goodbye forever until next week.